Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, the Starbound. He looked out at the stars through the big window. His crew was busy working at their stations. The ship moved slowly through space toward the fourth planet in the Kepler 442. System.Jake had been captain for 5 years. He was 42 years old with gray hair starting to show at his temples. He liked exploring new places in space. Today felt like any other day of exploration. "Captain, I'm getting strange readings from the planet," said Dr. Lisa Campbell. She was the science officer. Lisa was 35, with brown hair tied back in a ponytail. She always found interesting things during their trips. "What kind of readings?" Jake asked. He walked over to Lisa's station. Lisa pointed at her screen. "Energy signals. But they're not coming from the planet. They're coming from space near the planet." Bobby Martinez looked up from his engineering station. He was 28 and always wore a smile. "Could be a natural space phenomenon," he said. "Maybe," Lisa said, "but the pattern is too regular. It looks artificial." Jake thought for a moment. "Take us closer. But keep our shields up." The Starbound moved toward the energy signals. As they got closer, they could see something that made everyone stop talking. Floating in space were dozens of large ships. Ships were not moving. They looked dead. "Those aren't human ships," said Tony Kim from his communication station. Tony was 31 and very good with languages and signals. "I've never seen designs like that." Dr. Amanda Foster, the ship's doctor, came to the bridge. She was 40 and had kind eyes. "Are there any life signs?" She asked. Lisa worked at her station. "I'm scanning now." She was quiet for a long time. Then she looked up with wide eyes. "There are life forms on those ships, thousands of them." Jake felt his heart beat faster. "Are they alive?" "Some are," Lisa said, "but the readings are very weak. Their ships seem to be failing." The crew looked at the alien ships floating in the darkness. The ships were strange. They were not made of metal. Like human ships, they looked almost alive, with smooth surfaces that curved like living things. Some ships had holes in them. Others looked like they were breaking apart. "Captain," Tony said, "I'm trying to pick up any signals from those ships. There's something, but it's very faint." Jake made a decision. "We're going to investigate." "Bobby, prepare a shuttle. Lisa, I want full scans of those ships. Amanda, get your medical equipment ready. We might find injured aliens." "Sir," Tony said, "should we contact Earth first?" "This is first contact with an alien species." Jake thought about this. Earth was many weeks away by faster-than-light communication. These aliens might not have weeks. "We'll report after we know what we're dealing with," he said. The shuttle flew between the alien ships. Up close, the ships looked even stranger. They had no visible engines or weapons. The surfaces looked like they were made of some kind of living material. Some areas glowed with soft light, but many areas were dark. "The largest ship is ahead," Bobby said as he flew the shuttle. "It's about twice the size of the Starbound." They landed in what looked like a docking bay. The area was filled with strange air, but their suits protected them. The walls around them seemed to pulse slowly, like a heartbeat. Lisa held her scanner and looked around. "The air is breathable for humans, but it has different chemicals in it. The gravity is lighter than Earth's." They walked through corridors that curved and twisted like tunnels. Everything was quiet except for a low humming sound. The walls glowed with soft blue light that got dimmer as they walked deeper into the ship. "This way," Lisa said, following her scanner. "The life signs are stronger in this direction." They came to a large room filled with strange pods. The pods were clear on top and filled with green liquid. Inside each pod was a creature unlike anything they had ever seen. The creatures had 6 arms and legs. Their skin was hard and shiny like insects. They had large eyes with many parts, like fly eyes. 2 thin antennas grew from their heads. "They're beautiful," Amanda whispered. Many of the pods were dark and empty, but some still glowed with soft light. The creatures inside were still and quiet, but their antennas moved slightly. "They're in some kind of sleep," Amanda said, studying her medical scanner. "Like hibernation, but artificial." Jake counted. The pods. There were hundreds in this room alone. "How many ships did we count?" he asked. 47 ships, Bobby said. "If each ship has this many beings, ... Jake did not finish the sentence. They were looking at an entire civilization. Lisa found a control panel near the pods. The symbols on it were completely alien, but some areas glowed when she touched them. Suddenly, one of the pods opened with a soft hiss. The creature inside did not move at first, and slowly its eyes opened. When it saw the humans, it made a sound like clicking and backed away as far as the pod would let it. "It's afraid," Amanda said softly. Jake slowly removed his helmet. The air smelled strange, but was safe to breathe. He held up his hands to show he had no weapons. "We're here to help," he said, even though he knew the creature could not understand. The alien creature's antennas moved quickly. Its eyes looked at each human. Then it made more clicking sounds, but softer ones. "It's trying to communicate," Tony said excitedly. More pods began to open. Other creatures woke up and looked at the humans. They all seemed afraid, but they did not try to attack. One creature, larger than the others, made different sounds. The other creatures became quiet and listened. That one might be their leader. Jake said. Lisa was studying her scanner. "Captain, these ships are dying. The biological systems are failing. I estimate they have maybe 3 days before complete shutdown." Jake looked at the alien creatures watching them. Their large eyes seemed full of sadness and hope at the same time. He thought about what Earth Command would say about helping unknown aliens. He thought about the risks. But he also thought about letting an entire species die when they might be able to help. "We're not leaving them," Jake said finally. "Get back to the ship. We have work to do." As they prepared to leave, the large alien creature made a series of sounds and touched its chest, then pointed at Jake, even without words. The meaning was clear. It was saying thank you. Jake touched his own chest and nodded. They would find a way to help, somehow. Back on the Starbound, Jake called his crew together. They sat around the meeting table, still thinking about what they had seen. The alien ships floated outside their windows like sleeping giants. "First, we need to learn how to talk to them," Jake said. "Tony, can you work on their language?" Tony nodded. "I recorded their sounds. They seem to use clicking noises and some kind of light patterns. Did you see how their antennas glowed sometimes?" "I saw that too," Lisa said. "Maybe they talk with light and sound together. What about their biology?" Jake asked Amanda. Amanda looked at her notes. "They're very different from humans, but similar to Earth insects in some ways. They seem intelligent and peaceful. Their bodies are weak right now, probably from being in those pods too long." Jake turned to Bobby. "Can we help fix their ships?" Bobby shook his head. "Their technology is nothing like ours. Everything is biological. It's like their ships are alive. I don't know how to repair living machines." "We have to try," Jake said. "Lisa, take a team back to study their technology. Tony, work on communication. Bobby, see if our power systems can help theirs. Amanda, find out what they need to stay healthy." Over the next day, the crew worked hard. Tony played the alien sounds over and over, trying to find patterns. He also studied the light patterns their antennas made. Slowly, he began to understand. Simple ideas. Lisa and Bobby went back to the alien ships with more equipment. They found that the ships were like giant living creatures. The walls had veins that carried nutrients instead of wires that carried electricity. The ships ate special chemicals to stay alive, but they were running out of food. "It's amazing," Lisa told Jake over the radio. "These ships can heal themselves, grow new parts, and adapt to problems, but they're starving to death." Amanda worked with the aliens who were awake. She learned that they needed special chemicals to breathe and eat. The humans could make some of these chemicals, but not all of them. Tony made the biggest breakthrough. He learned that the large alien who seemed to be their leader was called something like Elder in their language. Elder was very old and wise. Using simple math and pictures, Tony was able to ask basic questions. Where did they come from? Why? Were they here? What happened to them? The answers were heartbreaking. Elder showed them images on their biological computers. The aliens called themselves something that Tony translated as Zephyrite. Their home planet had been beautiful, with tall crystal trees and flowing rivers. But their sun had started to change, becoming unstable and dangerous. The Zephyrite had built these living ships to carry their entire species to safety. 50,000 of them had left their dying world, hoping to find a new home among the stars. Space travel had been harder than they expected. Their ships began to fail. Worse, they had met other alien species during their journey, and none of them had helped. Elder showed them recordings that made the humans angry and sad. Ships from something called the Galactic Alliance had found the Zephyrite, but instead of helping, they had attacked. Some aliens had tried to capture Zephyrite children to sell as slaves. Others had stolen their technology and left them to die. "They think we're dangerous," Elder explained through Tony's translation system. "They say our living ships are too different. They say we don't belong with other space people." Jake felt sick as he watched the recordings. He saw alien warships firing on the defenseless Zephyrite ships. He saw official messages telling the Zephyrite to go away and die somewhere else. He saw other species treating the refugees like garbage. "How many of you are left?" Jake asked. Elder's antennas dimmed with sadness. "We started with 50,000. Now maybe 8,000 are still alive. Each day, more ships die. More of our people die." "Why didn't you fight back?" Bobby asked. "We are not fighters," Elder said. "We are gardeners and builders. We make things grow. We never learn to make weapons or hurt others." That night, Jake could not sleep. He walked to the observation deck and looked at the dying alien fleet. Each ship held people who had lost everything. They had traveled across the galaxy looking for kindness and found only cruelty. Jake thought about Earth and humanity. Humans were new to space travel. They had only met a few alien species, and those meetings had been peaceful but distant. Humans were not part of the Galactic Alliance yet. Earth had applied to join, but the process was slow. The next morning, Jake called Earth. It took several hours for his message to reach Admiral Patricia Bell, the head of human deep space operations. Her reply came back hours later. "Captain Morrison," Admiral Bell's recorded message said, "You've discovered something incredible, but you've also discovered something dangerous. If we help these aliens, the Galactic Alliance might see us as enemies. They might refuse to let humanity join their alliance. They might even attack Earth." Jake recorded his reply. "Admiral, I understand the risks, but we can't just watch an entire species die. Isn't this what makes us human? Our ability to help others even when it's hard?" While waiting for Earth's response, Jake's crew continued working with the Zephyrite. Tony had learned enough of their language to have real conversations. Lisa and Bobby had found ways to give the alien ships small amounts of power from the Starbound, buying them a little more time. Amanda had become friends with many of the Zephyrite. They were gentle people who loved art, music, and growing things. Their ships had beautiful gardens inside, though many of the plants were dying now. "They're so peaceful," Amanda told Jake. "They've never hurt anyone. All they want is a chance to live." Elder spent long hours with the humans, sharing the history of his people. The Zephyrhites had lived on their planet for millions of years. They had developed amazing biotechnology, but had never made weapons. When their sun began to die, they had worked together to build the evacuation fleet. "We thought other species would understand," Elder said sadly. "We thought they would help travelers in need, but they see us as monsters because we are different." "You're not monsters," Jake said firmly. "You're people just like us." Elder's antennas glowed brightly. It was the Zephyrite way of showing strong emotion. "You are the first species to say that to us. You are the first to treat us as equals." Jake received another message from Earth. This time it was from Admiral Bell and Ambassador Victor Lane, humanity's representative to the Galactic Alliance. "Captain," Admiral Bell said, "Ambassador Lane has spoken with Alliance officials. They are very clear. Any species that helps the Zephyrhites will be considered hostile to the Alliance. We could lose our chance to join them. We could be cut off from trade and protection." But then came another message, this one directly from President Karen Wells on Earth. "Captain Morrison, I've read your reports. I've seen the recordings of what those poor people have suffered. As President of Earth, I'm making a decision. We will not abandon the Zephyrhites. If helping them means we can't join the Galactic Alliance, then we'll build our own path among the stars. Prepare to receive reinforcements. We're sending the colony. Ship New Horizon with supplies and personnel. You are authorized to do whatever it takes to save those people." Jake smiled as he played the message for his crew. They cheered and hugged each other. Earth had made the right choice. Elder was with them when the message played. Even though he didn't understand all the words, he understood the meaning. His antennas glowed so brightly, they lit up the whole room. "Your people choose to help us, even though it will cost them," Elder said with wonder. "Why? Why would you do this?" Jake looked at the old alien who had become his friend. "Because it's the right thing to do. Because you're people, and people should help each other. That's what being human means." Elder was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that made Tony cry. "Perhaps there is hope in the universe after all." The colony ship New Horizon arrived 3 days later. It was one of Earth's largest ships, built to carry thousands of people to new worlds. Captain Sam Rodriguez commanded the ship. He was a veteran explorer with kind eyes and a strong will to help others. The New Horizon brought supplies the Zephyrhites desperately needed. It carried portable fusion reactors that could power the alien ships. It brought medical equipment and food that could be converted into chemicals the Zephyrhites needed to survive. Most importantly, it brought Dr. Elena Vasquez, Earth's best expert on alien biology. Elena was 50 years old with gray-streaked black hair. She had studied every alien species humanity had ever met, but she had never seen anything like the Zephyrhites. "Their technology is incredible," Elena told Jake as they toured one of the alien ships. "These ships are not built. They are grown. Every part is alive and connected to every other part." Bobby walked beside them, still amazed by what he was learning. The walls can heal themselves. The engines adapt to different conditions. It's like the ships think for themselves. "They do," Elder said through Tony's translation system. "Our ships are our partners. We grow them from seed ships when we are children. They live with us, learn with us, become part of our families." Elena studied the ship's biological systems with wonder. "This is why they're dying," she said suddenly. "The ships aren't just machines. They have emotions. They feel what their crews feel. Your people have been sad and hopeless for so long that the ships have lost the will to live. Elder's antennas drooped. Yes, when we lost hope, our ships began to die with us. They share our hearts. This discovery changed everything. The humans realized they needed to do more than just fix the ship's biological systems. They needed to give the Zephyrite hope, but giving hope became harder when the Galactic Alliance arrived. Admiral Zex Corval commanded a fleet of 30 Alliance warships. His species, the Altarians, were tall, thin aliens with blue skin and no emotions. They saw the universe in terms of rules and order. To them, the Zephyrite were a problem, to be solved by elimination. Human vessels. Admiral Zex Corval broadcast to the human ships. You are interfering with Alliance security operations. The biological contamination in this system must be cleansed. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. Jake stood on his bridge, looking at the massive alien warships surrounding them. His small exploration ship and the colony ship New Horizon were no match for the Alliance fleet. But he thought about the Zephyrite still fighting for life in their dying ships. Alliance fleet, Jake broadcast back, we are conducting humanitarian rescue operations. These beings are refugees, not threats. We will not abandon them. The creatures you call refugees have been declared unfit for contact by Alliance law. Admiral Zex Corval replied coldly. Their biological technology poses a contamination risk to civilized species. They must be destroyed. Captain Rodriguez moved the New Horizon between the Alliance ships and the Zephyrite fleet. Captain Morrison is right, he broadcast. We won't let you murder innocent people. Elder came to Jake's bridge during the standoff. The old Zephyrite looked at the Alliance ships with sad but not surprised eyes. This has happened before, Elder said. They always claim we are dangerous. They always say they must destroy us to protect others. But really, they fear us because we are different. Why do they hate you so much? Jake asked. Because our ships live, Elder explained. Most species build machines that obey them. Our ships are partners that choose to work with us. This frightens species that want to control everything. Dr. Elena worked frantically with Zephyrite bioengineers to save the dying fleet. She had made an amazing discovery. The human crew's determination and hope was actually helping the Zephyrite ships recover. When humans worked inside the ships, the biological systems became stronger. It's like giving blood to someone who is sick, Elena explained to Jake. Our positive emotions are feeding their ships, giving them strength to live. Bobby had been working with a young Zephyrite engineer named Singer. Singer was one of the few Zephyrite who had learned some human words. Together, they created something new, hybrid systems that combined human fusion power with Zephyrite biological technology. Look at this, Bobby said excitedly, showing Jake a power coupling that seemed to pulse with life. The biological parts learn from our machines, and our machines become more efficient from the biological parts. It's like they were meant to work together. But their work was interrupted when Admiral Zex Corval lost patience. You have 1 hour to withdraw, the Altarian commander announced. After that, we will open fire on all vessels in this system. Jake called an emergency meeting with his senior officers and Captain Rodriguez. They sat in the New Horizons conference room, surrounded by displays showing the Alliance fleet. We can't fight them, Captain Rodriguez said grimly. They have us outnumbered, 10-1. We can't run either, Amanda said. The Zephyrite ships are too weak to travel. Moving them now would kill everyone aboard. So what do we do? Bobby asked. Jake looked around the table at his friends and colleagues. These people had risked their careers and their lives to help strangers. They had shown the best of what humanity could be. We do what humans do best, Jake said. We find a third option. Jake's plan was risky and required perfect timing. The human ships would form a protective barrier around the Zephyrite fleet. The Alliance couldn't attack the Zephyrite without hitting human vessels first. Starting a war with humanity would bring complications the Alliance wanted to avoid. "But what if they call our bluff?" Captain Rodriguez asked. "Then we hope that our sacrifice means something." Jake replied, as the human ships moved into position, something unexpected happened. 3 Alliance vessels broke formation and moved away from Admiral Zex Corval's fleet. These ships belonged to younger Alliance species, who had been watching the humans work with the Zephyrite. Captain Tvek of the Centauri science vessel Logical Pursuit broadcast to both fleets. "Admiral Zex Corval, I request permission to observe the human-Zephyrite cooperation. Their hybrid technology shows remarkable promise." "Denied," Admiral Zex Corval snapped. "Return to formation immediately." But Captain Tyvek had seen enough. The Centauri were a logical species who valued knowledge above politics. "Admiral, destroying this fleet would eliminate a unique opportunity for scientific advancement. I cannot support this action." Other young Alliance species began to question the order to attack. They had watched humans risk everything to help strangers. They saw the amazing technology that came from cooperation instead of conquest. The Andromedan Republic ship Dawn of Peace moved to join the Centauri vessel. "We also question this operation," their captain announced. "These refugees have committed no crimes." Admiral Zex Corval found himself commanding a divided fleet. The older Alliance species supported him, but the younger ones were having doubts. During this confusion, Dr. Elena made her greatest breakthrough. Working with Elder and the other Zephyrite leaders, she found a way to fully integrate human and Zephyrite technology. The hybrid systems didn't just work, they were revolutionary. "Jake, you need to see this," Elena called over the radio. She was aboard the largest Zephyrite ship, working in what had once been a dying engine room. Jake arrived to find the room transformed. What had been dim and lifeless was now bright and full of energy. The biological walls pulsed with health, and human-made fusion cores glowed alongside Zephyrite bioreactors. "The ship is healing itself," Singer explained in broken English. "Human hope plus Zephyrite biology makes new life." Elder stood beside them, his antennas glowing brighter than Jake had ever seen them. "For the first time in years, our ships want to live again. You have given us more than power. You have given us dreams of tomorrow." Jake felt tears in his eyes as he watched the miraculous recovery happening around them. But their moment of triumph was interrupted by alarms. Admiral Zex Corval had run out of patience. "All vessels prepare for combat," the Altarian commander announced. "We end this now." Jake rushed back to his ship, knowing that the next few minutes would determine the fate of 2 species and possibly change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Jake reached his bridge just as Admiral Zex Corval's fleet began moving into attack formation. The massive Alliance warships spread out like hunters surrounding their prey, their weapons powered up with deadly light. "All human ships maintain protective positions," Jake ordered. "Do not fire unless fired upon." Captain Rodriguez's voice came over the radio. "Understood, Jake. New Horizon is holding position. If they want to get to the Zephyrite, they'll have to go through us." The tension in space was thick. Everyone knew that the next few minutes could start an interstellar war or save an entire species. On the Zephyrite ships, thousands of refugees watched and waited, hoping that their new human friends could perform one more miracle. Admiral Zex Corval opened communications to all ships. His cold voice filled the silence. "Human vessels, this is your final warning. Move away from the contaminated fleet or be destroyed with them." Jake took a deep breath. "Alliance fleet, we are conducting lawful rescue operations. These people have done nothing wrong, except be different from you. We will not abandon them." "Then you will share their fate," Admiral Zex Corval replied. But before the Alliance fleet could attack, something amazing happened. The Zephyrite ships began to change. Elder's ship, the largest in the fleet, started to glow. The biological hull shifted and flowed like living tissue. Other Zephyrite vessels began glowing too, their surfaces rippling with new energy. "What's happening?" Tony asked from his station. Dr. Elena's voice came over the radio from Elder's ship. "The hybrid systems are fully online. The ships are stronger than they've ever been. And Jake, they're not just healed, they're evolved." The Zephyrite fleet transformed before everyone's eyes. The ships that had been dying and broken were now magnificent living vessels that pulsed with power. Their bioelectric fields created barriers of pure energy that no weapon could penetrate. Admiral Zex Corval ordered his ships to fire, but their weapons simply bounced off the Zephyrite defensive barriers. The energy shields absorbed the attacks and grew stronger. "Impossible," Admiral Zex Corval said. "Our weapons are designed to destroy any known technology." Elder's voice came over all communications channels. Tony had helped him set up a universal translator so all species could understand him. "Admiral Zex Corval," Elder said calmly, "your weapons were designed to destroy machines. But our ships are not machines. They are living beings, and living beings can grow beyond what their creators imagined." The old Zephyrite continued, "You have spent so long trying to destroy us that you never learned what we could offer. Watch now and see what cooperation can create." The Zephyrite ships demonstrated their new abilities. They could heal damage instantly. They could adapt their shape for any purpose. They could generate unlimited clean energy. Most importantly, they could share these gifts with their allies. Streams of healing energy flowed from the Zephyrite ships to the human vessels. The Starbound and New Horizon were suddenly surrounded by protective bioelectric fields just like the ones protecting the Zephyrite. "This is incredible," Bobby said, watching his engineering displays. "Our ship's systems are improving in real time. It's like they're learning from the Zephyrite technology." Captain Tavik of the Centauri ship broadcast to Admiral Zex Corval. "Admiral, you must see what I am seeing. This technology could benefit all ant species. Instead of destroying it, we should study it." "The contamination spreads, Admiral," Zex Corval replied angrily. "All ships prepare for maximum firepower assault." But his own fleet was no longer united. Half of the Alliance ships refused to attack. The younger species had seen too much to simply follow orders. Captain Yupi of the Andromedan ship Dawn of Peace spoke for many of them. "Admiral, we joined the Alliance to explore the galaxy and make friends with other species. We did not join to commit genocide against refugees." Admiral Zex Corval found himself commanding only 15 ships instead of 30. The others had withdrawn from the battle or openly refused to fight. "You are all contaminated by human weakness," the Altarian commander snarled. "I will cleanse this system myself if necessary." Jake watched as Admiral Zex Corval's remaining ships charged their most powerful weapons. These were planet-killing devices that could destroy entire fleets. Even the Zephyrite barriers might not stop them. "All ships prepare for impact," Jake announced, but Elder had one more surprise. The largest Zephyrite ship began to change shape, growing larger and sprouting new structures. Other ships in the fleet did the same, connecting to each other with streams of energy. "They're forming a single organism," Dr. Elena reported in amazement. "The entire fleet is becoming one giant living ship." The combined Zephyrite vessel was bigger than any ship ever built. Its bioelectric field covered the entire area, protecting humans and Zephyrite alike. When Admiral Zex Corval's weapons fired their planet-killing blasts, The energy simply disappeared into the living ship's defensive systems. "Our turn," Elder said quietly. The giant living ship began to glow with power beyond imagination. For a moment, Jake feared that Elder might attack the Alliance fleet. But instead, something beautiful happened. Streams of golden energy flowed from the Zephyrite ship toward Admiral Zex Corval's vessels. But instead of destroying them, the energy began repairing damage to their hulls. It upgraded their systems. It made their ships better than they had ever been. "Why?" Admiral Zex Corval demanded. "Why are you helping us after we tried to destroy you?" Elder's gentle voice filled the communication channels. "Because that is what living beings do for each other. We help. We heal. We make each other stronger. This is what my human friends taught me to remember." Jake felt proud of humanity and proud of their new Zephyrite friends. In the face of hatred and violence, they had chosen compassion and cooperation. The Alliance fleet was in chaos. Half the ships had been improved by Zephyrite technology. The other half were confused and scared. Admiral Zix Corval's authority was crumbling. Captain Tavek took advantage of the confusion. "All Alliance vessels, I am calling for an emergency. Vote. Should we continue this attack on peaceful refugees, or should we invite them to share their gifts with us?" The vote was quick and decisive. 28 ships voted to end the attack. Only Admiral Zex Corval and his most loyal followers voted to continue fighting. "This is mutiny," Admiral Zex Corval declared. "This is evolution," Captain Tavek replied. "The Alliance must grow and change, or it will die like the old Altarian Empire." Faced with rebellion in his own fleet, Admiral Zex Corval made a final desperate decision. He ordered his personal ship to ram the giant Zephyrite vessel in a suicide attack. But as his ship approached, something unexpected happened. The Zephyrite vessel's healing energy surrounded his ship too. Instead of allowing the collision, the living ship gently caught Admiral Zix Corval's vessel and held it safely. "Even you," Elder said to the shocked admiral. "Even one who wishes to destroy us deserves the chance to live and learn." Admiral Zex Corval was silent for a long time. Then, in a voice much quieter than before, he asked, "What are you?" "We are gardeners," Elder replied. "We plant seeds of life wherever we go. We tend them. We help them grow. Today, we planted new seeds of friendship between our species and yours." The battle was over. The Zephyrite had won not through violence, but through compassion. They had turned their enemies into friends and shown the galaxy a new way to solve conflicts. Jake looked around his bridge at his crew. They had all been changed by this experience. They had learned that sometimes the most powerful weapon is kindness, and the strongest defense is the willingness to help others. "What happens now?" Tony asked. Elder's ship began to separate back into individual vessels, but they remained connected by streams of energy. "Now we find a home," Elder said, "and we build a future together." Ambassador Victor Lane's voice came over long-range communications from Earth. "Captain Morrison, I have news from the Alliance Council. They want to meet with you and the Zephyrite immediately. It seems your actions have caused quite a stir in galactic politics." Jake smiled. "Tell them we'll be happy to talk. But the Zephyrite aren't going anywhere until we find them a safe home." "Already taken care of," Ambassador Lane replied. "The planet in this system is being prepared for colonization. It seems humanity and the Zephyrite will be neighbors." As Jake watched the Zephyrite ships beginning their descent toward their new home, he realized that this was just the beginning. Humanity and the Zephyrite had found each other in the darkness of space, and together they would light the way for others. The galaxy would never be the same. 6 months later, the planet that everyone now called New Kepler was becoming a beautiful home. The Zephyrite had used their biotechnology to grow cities that looked like living gardens. Tall towers made of living coral stretched toward the sky, their walls filtering air and providing food for the inhabitants. Human settlements sat beside zephyrite hives, connected by bridges that had been grown rather than built. Children from both species played together in parks where earth flowers grew next to zephyrite crystal trees. Jake walked through the main plaza with Elder, watching their two peoples work together. Human engineers learned from zephyrite biobuilders how to make machines that could heal themselves. Zephyrite artists worked with human musicians to create new kinds of music that used both sound and light. "I never imagined this," Elder said, his antennas glowing with happiness. "When our ships were dying in space, I thought our story was ending. Instead, it was just beginning." Dr. Elena Vasquez had established the Interspecies Research Institute in the center of the main city. The building itself was a wonder, part grown by zephyrite, part built by humans. It represented everything they could achieve together. "Elena, show me the latest results," Jake said as they entered her laboratory. Elena smiled and activated a holographic display. "The hybrid technology is beyond anything we dreamed possible. Ships that can repair themselves, grow new parts, and adapt to any situation. Medical systems that can cure diseases by growing new healthy tissue. Computers that think and feel like living beings." Singer, the young zephyrite engineer who had worked with Bobby, joined him. His English had improved greatly over the months. "Humans teach us about machines," Singer said. "We teach humans about life. Together, we make something new." Bobby Martinez had become the first certified human bioengineer. He worked in a laboratory that looked like a garden, where machines grew on trees and computers were made of living crystal. "Look at this," Bobby said excitedly, showing them a device that looked like a glowing flower. "It's a fusion reactor that grows its own fuel. It will run for 1,000 years without maintenance, and when it finally dies, it will become soil for new reactors to grow in." The success of New Kepler had changed politics across the galaxy. Ambassador Victor Lane had negotiated humanity's entry into the Galactic Alliance, but on new terms. Instead of being junior members, who had to follow all the old rules, humans and Zephyrite were founding a new organization called the Cooperative Alliance. The old alliance was built on fear and control, Ambassador Lane explained to Jake during a video call from Earth. "Our Cooperative Alliance is built on friendship and sharing. Already, 12 species have asked to join us instead of the old alliance." Captain Tevek of the Centauri had been one of the first to switch sides. His science ship now worked permanently with the Research Institute, studying the new hybrid technologies. "Logic demanded that I follow the evidence," Tevek explained in his emotionless Centauri way. "The evidence clearly shows that cooperation produces better results than domination." Even some former enemies had become friends. Admiral Zex Corval had been court-martialed by the old alliance for refusing orders and losing half his fleet to defection. But the Zephyrite had offered him sanctuary on New Kepler. The proud Altarian admiral now worked as a military advisor, helping to design defense systems that protected rather than attacked. It had been hard for him to change his ways, but Elder had been patient and kind. "I spent my life believing that strength came from the ability to destroy," Admiral Zex Corval told Jake one day. "The Zephyrite taught me that true strength comes from the ability to create and heal." Dr. Amanda Foster had established the first interspecies medical center. Human doctors worked alongside Zephyrite healers to develop treatments that worked for both species and others. "Their biohealing technology is amazing," Amanda explained as she showed Jake through the medical center. "They can regrow lost limbs, repair brain damage, even extend lifespans. Combined with our surgical techniques and mechanical implants, we can cure diseases that were impossible to treat before." Tony Kim had become the head of the Translation Institute. He worked with linguists from a dozen species to develop universal communication systems. But more importantly, he helped species understand each other's cultures and values. Language is just the beginning, Tony said. Real communication happens when different species learn to see the universe through each other's eyes. The children were the real proof that the two species could build a future together. Human children learned to speak with light patterns like the Zephyrite. Zephyrite children learned to use tools and machines like humans. Jake watched a group of children playing in one of the biomechanical gardens. A human girl named Sarah was showing a young Zephyrite named Harmony how to throw a ball. Harmony was teaching Sarah how to make flowers change colors with her thoughts. They don't see differences, Elder observed. To them, we are all just people. President Karen Wells visited New Kepler for the first anniversary of the colony. She gave a speech in the main plaza to thousands of humans, Zephyrite, and visiting aliens from other species. 1 year ago, Captain Morrison and his crew made a choice. President Wells said, they chose compassion over politics. They chose to help strangers instead of following orders. That choice saved an entire species and changed the galaxy forever. The crowd cheered, humans clapping, Zephyrite making their musical clicking sounds, and other aliens showing approval in their own ways. Today, we dedicate this monument to the principle that brought us together, President Wells continued. She unveiled a statue that showed human and Zephyrite hands reaching toward each other across the stars. We call it the Monument to Hope. Jake stood with his crew as the ceremony continued. They had all been promoted and honored for their actions. Jake was now Admiral Morrison, in charge of the humanitarian fleet. Dr. Campbell headed the xenobiology department. Bobby ran the bioengineering school. Amanda directed interspecies medical research. Tony led the cultural exchange programs. But the real reward was seeing what they had helped create. New Kepler was proof that different species could not just live together, but thrive together. As the celebration continued into the evening, Jake found himself alone with Elder on a balcony overlooking the city. The bioluminescent buildings glowed softly in the darkness, creating a light show more beautiful than any human fireworks. Do you ever regret it? Elder asked. Your people gave up a lot to help us. You could have joined the old alliance and been powerful and safe. Jake thought about the question. Humanity had indeed given up the safety and privileges that came with alliance membership. But they had gained something more valuable. Look around us, Jake said, gesturing at the thriving city below. Look at what we built together. Could we have created anything this beautiful if we had followed the easy path? Elder's antennas glowed brightly in the darkness. My people have a saying, the seed that falls on hard ground grows the strongest roots. Perhaps humans and Zephyrite both needed to struggle to become what we were meant to be. A shooting star crossed the sky above them, followed by another. Jake realized they weren't shooting stars at all, but ships. More species were arriving to visit New Kepler and learn about the Cooperative Alliance. They're coming from all over the galaxy, Jake said with wonder. Species that have never worked together before. Hope is contagious, Elder replied. You taught me that. When people see that cooperation is possible, they want to try it for themselves. As they watched, a small ship landed in the spaceport. The passengers who emerged were unlike any species Jake had seen before. Tall, crystalline beings that sparkled in the city's bioluminescent glow. More refugees? Jake asked. No, Elder said, his antennas brightening with excitement. Ambassadors. They want to join our alliance. Word has spread across the galaxy about what we've accomplished here. Jake smiled as he watched the crystalline beings being welcomed by human and Zephyrite diplomats. The galaxy was changing, one friendship at head. A time, what's next? Jake asked. Elder was quiet for a moment, watching the city where their two species had learned to become one people. "We keep growing," he said finally. "We keep helping others. We keep proving that the universe is big enough for everyone." A year later, the Cooperative Alliance included 50 species. The old Galactic Alliance still existed, but it was smaller and weaker. Many of its former members had seen the benefits of cooperation and switched sides. Jake, now promoted to Fleet Admiral, commanded a new kind of fleet. Instead of warships designed to conquer, his ships were designed to explore, rescue, and heal. Each vessel combined the best of human engineering with Zephyrite. Bio-technology, the flagship of this new fleet, was called the Hope. It was a living ship, grown from a seed provided by Elders people, but powered by human fusion technology. It could heal itself, adapt to any situation, and most importantly, it could help other species solve their problems. Admiral Morrison, came a call from the Hope's communications officer. "We're receiving a distress signal from the Vega system. A species called the Aquarians is facing extinction due to solar radiation poisoning." Jake looked around the bridge at his mixed crew of humans, Zephyrite, Centauri, Andromedans, and others. They all looked eager to help. "Set course for V,"